In the news this week, Australia's electricity markets may face reform to cut power prices.
Aboriginal activist claims police mistreatment is still occurring despite a promise of cultural change.
Perth mum has been jailed for life for murdering her husband and wounding her children.
And police's new dual-purpose canines join the force after graduating from training.
This is the Evening News with Ivan Lung and Danielle Staniskov.
Good evening. The future of coal-powered electricity in Australia is in the spotlight again, following the release of an ACCC report this week. It also highlighted windfall profiteering in the retail energy sector as a result of no contestable competition in the market. Taylor Hanna spoke with experts about what WA needs to do to cut power prices.
The transition to renewable energy is underway, becoming an ever-increasing part of the market as a cheaper alternative. Energy researcher James Eggleston said it hasn't been a decision to get rid of coal explicitly, it's just a progression due to costly generating factors.
What we're seeing is those high prices as a result of that system, transmitting energy a long distance, that's pushing people to get renewables. And so that is what's shifting the market.
Green Senator Jordan Steele-John agrees the coal industry is not as sustainable as once hoped.
What we need to be doing is improving people's ability to access things that will actually bring down the cost of power, which are those subsidies and support systems for renewable energy.
Experts are calling for the WA energy market to be opened, creating legitimate competition to drive energy prices down. With 1 in 4 Australian households shifting to renewable energy, the focus is now on the government to implement more sustainable environmental policies.
It's government's responsibility not only for this generation but future generations, and this is what this argument is really about. How do we decarbonise our energy supply such that future generations don't experience some kind of inequality?
Taylor Hanna, WAMN News.
A prominent Aboriginal activist claims police mistreatment is still alive and well in WA, despite police promises of cultural change between officers and Indigenous people. It comes as Commissioner Chris Dawson apologised for a history of racism during NAIDOC week as commemorations continued across WA. Nelson Liu reports.
Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander and Australian flags raised permanently outside WA Police Headquarters in a new sign of solidarity.
To young Aboriginal people, it signifies a new, more positive chapter in the relationship between law enforcement and our First Peoples.
Indigenous Australians joined with WA police officers, acknowledging a new chance for reconciliation during NAIDOC week. But it was an apology by Police Commissioner Chris Dawson for ongoing police mistreatment of Indigenous people that brought them a step closer to building trust.
I would like to say sorry to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples for our participation in past wrongful actions.
In saying sorry, Commissioner Dawson has promised his apology is a start to making amends and to ensure WA Police's mistakes aren't repeated. For Aboriginal advocates, though, fear and abuse is still a reality.
That culture is alive and well, that they run as soon as they see the police.
They say Commissioner Dawson's apology is a start, but police racism now needs to be stamped out with action.
When incidents come up and that, don't just brush them off, hold them accountable.
Nelson Liu, WAMN News.
Perth woman Carolee Hall has been jailed for life after she was found guilty of murdering her husband and stabbing 2 of her children in a psychotic condition at their Leader home back in December 2015. Antonio Lamarchia joins us from Supreme Court with a summary. Antonio.
Good evening, Ivan. Miss Hall fatally stabbed her husband Glenn Hall 16 times in the neck and chest. 3 of those wounds were penetrating through his heart. Miss Hall's defence was that she acted in self-defence and that her husband was abusive towards her and her children, but State Prosecutor Brett Tooker argued, saying Hall's mental condition was affected by her use of her drugs, including methamphetamine and cannabis, which she said she had smoked the night before the horrific murder. Supreme Court Justice Michael Corboy described the attack as brutal and savage. Justice Corboy sentenced Miss Hall to a maximum term of life behind bars with eligibility for parole after serving 18 years. It's back to you.
Antonio, thank you. A great new initiative by the WA Police has seen the inaugural School of Dual Purpose Police Dogs graduate and become operational. 5 new canine teams will hit the front line after completing an intensive 18-week course. The recruits are part of a national first. WA is the first state to train police dogs as both general purpose and narcotic detection dogs, enabling greater flexibility in policing on the front line.
Unfortunately, drugs are more and more prevalent in the community, and it's good that our general purpose dogs can also detect the narcotics. There's a lot of work that goes into training a police dog, but they're very valuable in terms of policing and in the community.
The Garrett Bridge officially opened today with footy patrons walked across to Optus Stadium. The 370-metre bridge over the Swan River connects East Perth with the stadium precinct. The 65-metre high bridge cost $83 million to the government and has been long awaited since construction began back in November 2015.
Yeah, it's really big actually. It doesn't look so grand from a distance, but it's actually massive. I mean, it's just about the width of a cricket pitch and architecturally very impressive, very sexy.
US President Donald Trump will be meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Helsinki on Monday after a 4-day trip in the United Kingdom. There were protests in London as thousands of demonstrators expressed their dismay over his arrival in Britain. British Prime Minister Theresa May and Mr Trump met at the PM's Chequers country residence to discuss various issues after a press conference. At least 199 people died and 12 people are still missing in Japan after floods and landslides hit part of the country. Approximately 10,000 people were evacuated from the disaster areas as Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe cancelled his foreign trip with plans to visit the affected regions. The government has promised to set up emergency funds to help residents to return to their homes. And that's our weekly news and current affairs. For all the latest happenings, you can visit our website and Facebook page.
From Danielle, myself and the rest of the team, until 8 o'clock next Sunday, a very good evening to you.
Good night.